And now we welcome the host of the podcast, On with Kara
You really
Swisher.
sold that golf club. I'm thinking of buying one right now.
Are you a golfer, Kara?
No. Why would I do that?
I'll send you one anyway.
No, please don't.
We do that for all of our guests. I've been listening to so many of your episodes, just getting ready and getting
psyched. The glasses if you want them. They're right here.
There they are. On with Kara Swisher, and then the co-host of the Pivot podcast with Scott Galloway. And through the writing and events and podcasts, Kara has really significantly influenced how the public understands and engages with tech. But it's grown into politics, right? You've interviewed them all. I'm thinking about the fact that you have sat with all of these, tastemakers, decision makers. Really, they're incredibly powerful. Zuckerberg, Tim Cook, Elon, Bezos, Sam Altman.
Steve Jobs.
Who's Steve Jobs, the original? Who's the biggest, most powerful of all of them right now?
Wow, I'd have to say Steve Jobs, of all of them. I mean, I'd be really interested to see what he'd do. He died obviously in 2011. But I'd really like to see what he would think of the current moment and how he would handle it and what Apple would be like with him at the helm. Although Tim's done a very good job from a shareholder point of view and a product point of view too. It would be interesting to see what it was like with him there and stuff. But I think he has been the most important if I had to pick.
He inspired everyone there. I mean, you think of Sam Altman from OpenAI. He worshipped Steve Jobs, right? I mean, this is, he wanted that. He wants to be like that. So of all of are you, as a tech follower and tastemaker and interviewer, are you excited about where technology is going and mostly AI, or are you afraid?
I'm not either. There's a thing called a Zoomer a Boomer who thinks it's all up and to the right and everything's going to be great. It's going to solve all our problems, which is never the case. It's a very naive way to look at technology. And then there's the Doomers who think that it's going to kill us. The sort of people who think the Terminator movie is going to come to light. There's that group of people. And then there's sort of the Zoomers who just are like, let's see what this does. Let's hope we have some guardrails on it. It's obviously incredibly powerful. So it just depends on how it's used and who uses it and who makes the decisions. If it's only shareholder based, it'll be a negative probably. If it's thought about in ways to solve healthcare and other major problems, that would be great. I don't think the technology is the problem. It's the people who deploy it or the people in charge of deciding how things are deployed, which should be, in the U.S. citizens. But in fact, it's controlled by giant companies.
And really big outsized personalities. So out of all the personalities, which are the ones that I know you got a real, as they say, chapped ass for Elon Musk.
I do not.
Why do you hate him so much?
Chapped ass for me. He insults me. I just tell you what happened. Listen, exactly what I said would happen with Trump just happened. So I feel like I'm accurate. He just likes to call me names, but that's fine. Whatever.
Well, what happened? What did happen? I mean, anyone who flies too close to I say, if you want to shine in the Donald's world, you stay in the shade. Don't step out into the sun. As soon as you step out into the sun, boom.
Yeah, probably. Honestly, I would rather deal with Donald Trump than Elon Musk these days. I think at least he seems to understand who he is. Elon is sort of turning into a bit of a tragic figure, as rich as he is. Obviously, you've read the stories about his drug use, which are entirely accurate. But it's more than that. It's an unhappiness. It's, he seems to be hurtling towards something really destructive. If you're a 52-year-old man, you're the richest man in the world, and you feel the need to insult people, like relentlessly is kind of a strange. I imagine if you had that money, Billy, you'd be very happy and very jolly about it.
I don't know about that. I think I'd have to give it all away, or I'd have a massive panic attack. I'd have to at least, $300 million. That should
billion.
$300 billion.
You wouldn't be a relentless asshole and try to bring people down and constantly be acting like a victim. That's really what he's done. And, the idea behind a thing like Doge is not a new thing. There was a Grace Commission. There was all kinds to make government more efficient. But this was done with such casual cruelty. It's this sort of hallmark of this administration is just like relentless, shameless cruelty for no good reason, because it doesn't. Look, I suppose if I thought cruelty would get us a better government, we might partake in that, but it really isn't the way.
But he was following orders, wasn't he? Or do you think he was completely on his own? Did Trump hang him out to dry?
Yeah, I think Trump used him as a heat shield. I think that Trump understands heat shields very much about who gets blamed for things, and it's never him. And I think he wanted to sort of do a little hand-waving jazz hands, but Elon took it to ridiculous extremes, like doing the chainsaw. People are losing jobs. I don't think you use a chainsaw metaphor. You know, how old do you have to be to understand that that's just cruel for no good reason? You could make a great case for efficiency. You could make a great case for there being too much regulation. I do it all the time, but you don't have to do it in a way that impugns a whole group of people unless you're relentlessly insecure and aren't certain of what you're doing. It's even Trump corrected him. He said it's not a chainsaw, it's a scalpel or even a chisel. But in this case, I don't think we seem to have been, the U.S. taxpayers now out money because of this effort, probably.
Yeah.
Which they relentlessly lied about too. Why lie about it? Why? Because everything is jazz hands with this guy rather than actual results.
Is it even possible? I mean, the government is so big. Is Doge dead, do we think? Someone takes over now,
so.
Doge keeps going on, but it's probably dead, right? I mean, really.
Who, like Billy Bush? I don't know who gets to push. You can't push these cabinet secretaries around. That's who actually, had a hand in Elon's downfall here. Was he bullied Treasury Secretary Bessent, and Bessent wasn't having it. He bullied Marco Rubio, the Secretary of State, and he wasn't having it. And, again, it's not, you can make really good points about government efficiency, but not like that, right? Like, not like the way he did it, like saying he put something in a wood chipper, USAID in a wood chipper. These are people's lives, and you don't act like you're playing a video game when you're doing that. And that's sort of smack when you're playing video games, which he likes to play, but that's not how you conduct an adultness. And I hate to be like the adult in the room, but it's just, if my kids behave like this, I'd be pissed. So
you said recently I was too nice to Elon for too long.
I was.
What was the first time? What was the first meeting with Elon? Did you liked him?
I did. It was because, it was actually, I met him way before that, it was unremarkable, I would say. He had a company that put the yellow pages online. I don't know how else to put it. Like it was called Zip2 or something like that. And it was one of the many entrepreneurs that was around. And what I really started to notice him when he had X.com, which was a payments company that competed with PayPal. And they were incredible rivals, and they were too small for not to be one. And so they merged. And when they sold it by luck to eBay, that was a big moment. And everyone went off and with their money. I think they made a little bit of money. Each of them made a little bit of money because even though $300 million seems like a lot of money, it was split a lot of ways. But he went off and did some interesting things. He bought a car company that was already founded. He sort of focused in on space, which was a big interest of his. He was doing interesting things. And a lot of the people who took that money and a lot of entrepreneurs who did well at the time did like really dumb things, like, digital dry cleaning. And so he was interesting. And he was interesting. Like, if you're doing real life problems, to me, if you're a reporter,
I like actual dry cleaning. I don't like.
We're going to digitize dry cleaning. I'm like, oh, you're doing a pickup service that you use an app for. It doesn't inspire you.
What's the next thing that is just like a basic function of life that I can just get an app for and have some? We've really thought of everything. Is there anything left?
AI will be that for you.
AI. I'm into ChatGPT right now. It knows too much. I'm dating a woman who's also dating ChatGPT, and that's a very dangerous thing.
Kara, questions?
She got a whole profile on me. Back what we were saying 3 days ago about Billy. I think he has emotional issues. And it's amazing. This thing's going to put therapists out of job. It's amazing.
It could. For a lot of basic things, it does a lot of really good things. I think the idea is the people who use it, if you're a lawyer and you know how to understand it, you'll do a better job as a lawyer because it'll help you. And, there's glitches, just like, if you don't, I don't know if you remember early internet, but it was pretty glitchy. The very first website, one of the very first websites was a camera aimed at a coffee pot at a research institution, and everyone just watched it. It wasn't, it was very unexciting, and you would have no way of understanding in 20 years what it would become, right? And so right now, I think where we are with AI is it's still working out. There's enormous amounts of money being put to it, but we'll see what actually makes money, whether it helps. Hollywood's a perfect example of that. Like, is it going to replace TV shows, or is it going to help people make TV shows? Is it going to make it easier to do better CG? Is it like CGI, which helped Hollywood for sure? Or is it going to be just totally replacing all kinds of people, grips and lighting people and actors even at some point?
We are talking to Kara Swisher, who is a tech journalism legend. and really from the
Sure.
beginning. You should accept that because it's true.
I shall.
And she has many podcasts, a great platform with Vox Media. And so, my cousin is a guy named John Ellis who writes News Items, which is a Substack. It's very good. John sent me a few articles on AI, and one that was really blew my mind was something called like AI 2027, and it takes us from now until 2027, and it gets month by month when it comes to the year 2027, and it's like sort of a prognostication of where these things are going. You got the second model, the Agent 2 comes and it trains Agent 3, and then Agent 3 gets to be freestanding, and then it goes and starts Agent 4, and it's the research for Agent. Then it keeps building upon itself, and ostensibly it leads to AGI, artificial general intelligence, and then who knows, maybe super intelligence. But all along is this thread of, will there be a governing body, an international governing body? Will we ever get to a place where we say to China, hey, let's put on the brakes, all of us, and sort of come to an agreement here? Or is that just like, we tried that with the Russians when it was actually hardcore missiles, and the race just kept going.
I noticed we haven't blown ourselves up yet.
Right.
So we did it with the Russians with nuclear.
Can we do it here with the Chinese?
If people think of it like that, but right now, unfortunately, the government has a very backseat role in this stuff because big companies like Google, or Meta, and Alphabet, and Microsoft, and others, and Amazon are controlling a lot of it, where it's going, where the money's coming from. And so the government has played a very small role comparatively, compared to the way the government invented the internet, as you know, it was for defense systems. And so government invented radar, government invented like all kinds of things, people using research. And so the question is, do we see it as just another commercial thing, and we're going to keep it within the commercial sector, or do we see it as something that's much more important? Do we have things we can agree on, like killer drones, for example, that will just attack you, or someone's DNA? Do we think it's okay to use it for cloning? Well, you think, those are the kind of things there should be a worldwide decision making on certain things you don't use. I just don't know, given how the state of the world right now, there'd even be a nuclear non-proliferation treaties, but we'll see. We really do, because a lot of it has to do with privacy, misinformation, how it could spin out of control. Really, you could easily see the disaster scenarios. And actually, there's a movie this weekend that premiered that the guy who did Succession, Jesse Armstrong, I just interviewed him, called Mountainhead.
Yeah,
that happens,
Is that
right?
good?
And it's not. It totally could. And especially when there's such a ethically shabby person like the guy in Venus in the movie who just puts it out. And even the guy who creates good AI is kind of happy about it, because he goes, how does it feel to have the cure for info cancer? Right? Wow. He kind of is heady. He's getting richer and richer because he has the cure for cancer in the information space. And so, and he's, ethically challenged too, because the worse the world is, the better he does. And so, do we want to put it in the hands of some of these people who are very malformed as human beings, right? Yeah. And I wouldn't want
That's
to be
what scares me. Even, Sam Altman, I mean, nice enough guy, very charming. He's good. He can, sell ice to Eskimos. But here's a kid from St. Louis, Missouri, who, grew up kind of simple, but smart as hell. And all of a sudden, so much of our future is in his hands and Elon's hand.
He has a lot of competition. He has, and
Elon and Zuckerberg and all these guys.
Satya Nadella, who's head of Microsoft. Yeah, exactly. And that's the question is, these are unelected people who are making decisions for the rest of us on technology that really did start with the government, just like the internet did. And so the question is, who decides? And then they have captive the government. They all showed up at Donald Trump's inaugural and stood there in the front row. You saw that. That was a visual.
Not Tim.
Tim was there. He was in the back row.
Tim was there?
Oh. He was there. He and Sam Altman hid in the back row in the most incredible feat of engineering not to be seen next to Donald Trump. But they did it. They were at that lunch and they were at the thing. And so the question is, why were they there? And why did Trump want them there? It's so obvious why Trump wants them there, because he wants to show his hegemony over people. But in their case, they want things. And that includes the next thing, which is AI. And that's why they want to be there. They're competing for that and other juicy bits from the government, whether it's defense contracting as we move into the more digital defense.
So the
Like, look what
government will get
Ukraine
involved.
just did with drones yesterday. It was astonishing.
Sorry, what's
Like,
that?
what Ukraine did with drones yesterday was astonishing. You couldn't have ever done that. A small country like Ukraine attacked Russia very effectively using drones that they just let out of a box. Essentially, they've shipped them right next to the
$600
bases.
drone, and
They're going to be some country when this is over. I know we're right in the midst of this ridiculous aggression by the Russians, but when this is over, Ukraine is going to be a leading technology country in 10 years or something like that. I keep thinking about that, how incredible that they have used, the scarcity has bred incredible. They did have gotten a lot of money from us, but what they're doing is really quite impressive.
So what do you think? You talk a lot about politics. So the tech bros, they're all there at the inauguration. But then, you look at all the CEOs that are swinging through Mar-a-Lago, and they're having dinner and they're doing their thing. And the hedge funds are doing well. We've got the whole taco trade thing. The
taco trade thing's good for them. They seem to know when
people are making money.
Because he's constant volatility creates money for people. They have even a slight idea of when he's going to pull them or have them. Now, look, the stock market's now sort of onto the game, and so you aren't seeing swings in volatility as much. Initially, I'm sure a lot of the people around Trump made out like bandits on those things, and someday maybe we'll investigate that. But right now, the volatility is getting less and less because everyone's onto his little game, what he does, which is put them up, do this red light, green light kind of thing.
I'm outraged, but I'd also like a hand signal. I'd like a hand signal, like we're gonna, here's the.
Well, don't you know him? I heard you knew him.
I used to know him. I haven't seen him in 10 years, but I knew him.
By the way, I compliment you on the name of your podcast. Embrace it. I love it.
Yeah, what do you think about Hot Mics?
I love it. I think it's a great name for a podcast. I can't believe I didn't think of it. It's really good.
Well, it especially applies to me. I figure,
whatever.
Like 3 years of living in a hole and like wanting to destroy myself. And then all of a sudden,
Andrew Cuomo's about to be a mayor of New York. Incredible.
Yeah. And he's in a runaway. So what do you think? I'm just thinking these, but why is there, it's where I started in the beginning. Why is there so much fear, or lack of courage to say what's right inside? Like there's certain things I like about Trump, and I detailed, 3 or 4 of them in the beginning. But there's also certain things that, on the same issue, this is a problem. Elite universities, speaking basically one language, and that resonated with people. It felt more like indoctrination than education. But banning foreign students from attending, paying full freight, which kills the economy, that's not good. They also help out researching our large companies. Everything's about nuance. Why the hell can't there be nuance? And why can't you say, I like this guy for this reason, and I really don't like this about him without...
I think Donald Trump was where nuance went to die. I don't think he's ever been nuanced. I don't think he's a particularly smart thinker. I think he does everything as a distraction in some fashion. I think the only thing you need to focus on is who's getting rich. And so if you're looking at the volatility in the stock market and the tariffs, does he have real commitment to that, or is he creating volatility? Is he real commitment to the things he's saying about Harvard, or does he just want to create cover for the billionaire tax breaks that are coming for them? I focus often on the money, and the Harvard thing is strange. And one of the things that is really unusual for this group of people is, and I use this expression a lot, is every accusation is a confession. Like, they talk about free speech, and then what are they doing? They're shutting down. If Harvard wants to be woke, Harvard can be woke. It's none of the government's fucking business of what Harvard should do, honestly. The government
if they're taking government, if they're getting
so
subsidies.
What? The government, but we don't have one government. We have lots of people in our government, and so the government can't dictate what Harvard should say whatsoever. And
with a $54 billion endowment, I don't think anyone's saying
it's complicated. It's complicated. They don't have cash. They have that, but it's dedicated to certain things. And so it's what they're doing is just an attack on elites, I suppose. But what's wrong with people who are smart? Base. Yeah, and it works with the base. It has nothing to do, like a lot of the research that comes out of Harvard and others, they're not getting funds for nothing. They're getting funds for doing amazing research that, in fact, Research delivered us the internet. Research delivered. We can go on and on and on about what research has done, and to act like it's like some freebie, it's just such a reductive way to think about it. These universities have done astonishing. The payoff for investing in universities has been massive, massive payoff. And the fact that he's attacking them, to me, is a distraction, but it also helps get his base. So but why are we catering to this base of people at all? Like, why do they get to run? It's a very small group of people. It's 30, 20, 30%. What about the rest of us who kind of like
because the rest of us
drug?
aren't taking part in the political process. They're waiting for two parties. I think the two-party system is brutal because they're waiting for these primaries and they wake up and they say, wait, so who are we choosing between? Well, you're choosing between those two people? Why? That couldn't be worse. Yeah. Well, you got to get involved.
Absolutely. I think that's what's interesting is that they've created it almost like what's interesting about Trump, I was talking to, I often talk to Trump people, which is interesting because they're such leakers. They're such like giant gossipy leakers behind, just so everybody knows all the stuff they say on Fox News is nonsense. That's performative. But one of the things, that's where I heard all about the discomfort with Elon, because I had said, look, you guys you'll see what happens in a second when he starts his bullying and pushing people around. And they were like, oh, you just don't like him. I'm like, okay, just wait. And then weeks later it was like, oh, I see what you have, what you were pointing out. But one of the things that they struck me, and I think they're right about this, was a lot of stuff that Trump, of the basic stuff people are concerned with and can be concerned, like immigration that's out of control.
Yep.
But not like this. What he's doing, if he would just stifle himself a little bit, he'd be wildly popular, I think. I hate to say that because I'm not a fan, but like instead of like taking an issue that people justifiably have issues with and doing it in a smart way, he would have just reaped the benefit of that. Instead, he does it in this cruel way, zip tying children, ignoring courts and everything else. And that, to me, same thing with the woke stuff, whatever you think about it, but why do you need to attack Harvard like that? Why can't you just think of ways to work with them? Why can't, I think a lot of people would go along with him, a bigger group of people, but they don't because it's like...
It's the same. He's done it forever. It's the way you conduct business. You got to create a zero-sum game, and he's the master of the zero-sum game. Two people can't be winning at the same...
master of that?
Well, it works for him. I mean, he's the king of the concrete jungle. Two people can't win at the same time. If I'm winning, you have to be losing, and badly. You have to be bleeding.
Right, but it doesn't...
on the floor.
When you are the president of the United States, presumably you have bigger values here, but he doesn't. He has no respect for that. And so I think what's interesting is... The most interesting to me about Donald Trump is how he uses digital media. I mean, he is the digital media president. I mean, that's why I sort of started focusing on politics, because you look at different presidents or different political movements, and obviously JFK gets the TV, role, that he used TV to his advantage. Roosevelt used radio to his advantage. So did Churchill. So did Hitler, by the way.
And Trump uses Truth Social.
Social, like not just Truth Social. It's not that. It's the medium is... at this moment is designed for someone like him because it's short, it's clear, it proliferates without the need for media to intermediate between him and them.
Yeah.
And that's what's really interesting to me.
As
for someone who's quite a Luddite.
How many likes did I get? How many likes did I get on that last one? Did I get some likes? How many likes? Oh, I love likes. I love
but that's over in the AI age because people will be really able to target without you knowing it. So his era is sort of coming to an end, this sort of spray and pray kind of approach. So it'll be interesting to see if they adapt to where it's going with AI.
Spray and pray.
Yeah. Just like, wow.
Kara, how could you? Wow. Did you, because of your long-standing relationship with many of these tech executives, are you going to the Bezos wedding? Are you going to take off and go? Come on, Kara.
No, he didn't invite. We never got along, I have to say, even when I was covering him. He only talked to me until he needed me, which I don't mind. When I was at the Wall Street Journal, he needed the attention of the Journal at the time. But no, I'm not. You know what? Whatever. He's living his best life, I guess. Are you going?
No.
I've heard from people that have been invited.
I want to go. I got to say, I got a little FOMO on the thing.
Oh, did you? Yeah. Well, a lot of people who they don't know have been invited, because I've gotten calls from people. They're like, I got invited to this Bezos when I'm like, oh, are you a friend of his? No. I was like, oh, okay. I mean, honest, I would go if I was invited. I absolutely
would. Of course you would. And you'd stay on whatever that thing's called, the biggest sailing ship. And
no, that I wouldn't do, because they would like put me down in the hold and like sell me off to someone at some point.
I'm gonna hit you. I'm gonna hit you with something random. I got a great friend who sent all 3 of his kids to the Portledge School.
Oh my God. That's where I
You
went.
are a Portledge graduate, and you
I
gave the
am.
commencement speech in 2021.
I did.
You told the kids you need to make sure, as we have with cars and planes, with banks and trains, with oil and finance, that we also, and I mean us as a society, control the machines and their makers rather than them controlling us.
Looks like I was
Very
right.
prescient
Yes.
right then.
Prescient. I was prescient. Yes.
Prescient.
I thought you were going to say Jane Lynch, who is a friend of you, who loves you. But she texted me about you. She's a wonderful person.
Oh, are you friends with Jane? I love Jane.
She's wonderful. She's an old friend.
We love Jane Lynch. Boy, I always have a great... Jane Lynch did the nicest thing for my daughter. One time we were in Boston, and I had to put my minor child, she was probably 11, and she had to fly by herself from Boston to Los Angeles. I was very worried about it. And lo and behold, I see Jane Lynch. And Jane Lynch talks my daughter up into first class next to her. And she's like, there's an extra seat. We're going to take this little girl. And Jane Lynch was the nanny on the way home.
Oh, my God.
Is that great or what?
She is a great person. How many kids do you have?
I have 3 daughters.
3 daughters. Well done.
All in their 20s. Yeah.
I have 3 sons and a daughter, but yeah.
How's that? How do you find time for it all? You are doing you have 5 podcasts, Kara.
Yeah. Well, 5 times a week. Yeah. That's right.
You're constantly on. Scott Galloway, but I've been listening to The Pivot.
Yeah.
I
like
I watched the last episode. I think he just opened up with, God, I'm in such a mood right now. I haven't had alcohol or edibles in a week. And my in-laws are killing me. It seems you have problems with your in-laws as soon as you try communicating with them.
He's great. He's a journey. Scott Galloway's a journey. It's it's the most non-sexual marriage it's the best marriage of all time, the 2 of us, and it's weird, and it's a weird marriage. So we used AI to pretend we were married. We used Google's.
And did you feel anything?
Let me tell you, they did a version of our wedding, and it was once the AI versions of us, which were terrible, started to kiss. We were like, "No, make it stop! This is our nightmare." Yeah.
Well,
it wasn't very good. It wasn't actually. It was less good than we thought it would be.
I love you guys together, and I know it's been very successful because you negotiated a great deal, and congrats.
How are you doing in the podcast business?
We've been on for 4 months, and we have, how many we have like 55,000 subscribers or something, and we want many more, Kara. We want
subscribers or listeners or what?
Subscribers on YouTube, and then I don't know what the TuneIn stats are because that's a separate thing. The audio TuneIn, and
you liking it? Are you enjoying it?
I
You
absolutely
seem like a natural.
I started in radio. I did, I was a radio in Washington D.C. I had a morning zoo radio show. You live in D.C. And then I went to television, and I think obvious reasons. I think it's getting.
You're back on television again.
I am, but I'm leaving.
No, but I mean, podcasts are all about video now.
Yeah, we do video. I want this on. We want to get Hot Mics on, a platform where we can do 2 hours a day live. That's really where I like to be live. We're live now, you and I.
Yeah, well, it will be. It will be. Streaming is sort of where it's at, obviously.
Well, thank you. I want to say I've enjoyed talking to you so much.
No problem.
You are an icon. You are a legend.
I am. I'm an icon.
Let me see the shades. Let me see the Kara Swisher shades. Where are they? Let's get this.
I am. They were on the book cover. There they are. How's that?
That thing moves units. That moves units right there.
It did. Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Thanks a lot.
Appreciate it. On with Kara Swisher, her podcast, Alone. Bye. The Pivot with Scott Galloway. Fantastic, the 2 of them, the way they go at it.